All right, what's going on, everybody? This is training series episode 1, and today we're going over progressive overload, what it is, and how to actually apply it. We have 4 different topics that we're gonna go over today. What is progressive overload? The stimulus threshold, the 4 ways to progress, and what most lifters are doing wrong. Stick around for the end because this is the most important one. What is progressive overload? Progressive overload is just as the name says. Progressive meaning over time, and overload meaning doing more. So we put the 2 together. It's just doing more over time. For example, let's say you're in the gym. The week prior, your first set, you're on bench. So you did 100 pounds. That was the weight that you used. And you did that for 3 sets. And then you did, let's say 15 reps here, 13 reps in the second set. And you did 10 reps on the third set. So this is 1, 2, 3. This is what last week looked like. What progressive overload is the second week, you try to aim a little higher. That's it. You hit 100 pounds, same weight, you hit it for 16 reps. Second set, you hit it for 14 reps. And then the third set, you hit it for 12 reps. So if you look back at what you did the week prior, you did 1 more rep on the first set, 1 more rep on the second set, and you did 1 more rep on the third set. This is what it should somewhat look like. It doesn't exactly have to be 1 rep or 2 reps, just the fact that you are doing more work over time. What is the stimulus threshold? This is a very good way that we use to describe what exactly this should look like, because yeah, we get it. We should be doing more weight over time, but what is too much? You can very easily do too much and make your gains basically harder. It's very important that we keep the stimulus to fatigue threshold, which we're going to talk about in this graph in a second. The stimulus fatigue threshold is something that is very important and must be managed over the time. Stimulus is just the activation. For example, when you're on or doing a set of bench press or whatever the case may be, or you're doing bicep curls and you feel that pump every single time you curl, feel your biceps working, that is a stimulus. Stimulus is kind of like a signal, feeling the biceps work. Fatigue is just the duration of your workout. You had one of those workouts where you would just keep going and eventually you start to lose the pump a little bit, but you still keep going. And then eventually by the time you get to the end of the set, you're kind of just like, my muscles are done. I can't really feel them. I can't flex them. I'm just completely tapped out. I'm gonna go home. The stimulus to fatigue ratio, the higher up you go, the higher signal you're sending to your brain, and the farther you go, the more fatigue you will be. This little bar right here is the stimulus threshold. We want to signal to our body that we want to put muscle on. We need to at least get to this point. Anything above this is golden. We want to stay in this range right here. This is the minimum amount of stimulation, the minimum amount of activation that you should be getting. At this point, you should be somewhat feeling your muscles work. Once you get to this point, everything else is great. This is all muscle growth. Muscle growth is going to happen within this entire section. So we want to be here. Where things start to tip off is on this end. Feeling that pump begin to fade, and that's when things start going downhill. This is not where we want to be. We want to be here, feel the muscle working, have strong contractions, good pumps, and we're still able to lift a good amount of weight relative to what we have done the week prior. Let's say the week prior we were doing 100. The week after we're still doing 100. If we're getting to a point throughout the set where we have to lower this to maybe 75 or 70 pounds, it tells us that maybe we're getting to that tail end, or we're just done. Our chest doesn't have any more that it can give us, or our biceps don't have any more that it can give us. Let's just end the workout here and go home, because you had a successful workout. You got to this point, you went a little bit further, you started to notice that this was beginning to happen. Your weight was beginning to drop off as you didn't have as much energy. When you start noticing this, you're kind of good here. You don't have to push any further. Now, these are the 4 ways to progress. We have adding weight, which is the most common. Most people think that this is the only way to get bigger and get stronger. Not the case at all. Adding weight, so this would mean on week 1, we hit 100 pounds for 3 sets of 10. And then on week 2, we hit 110 pounds. So 10 more pounds than the week prior, and we hit it for the same amount of reps and the same amount of sets. That is progressive overload by weight. The second one being adding reps would look like we have 3 sets and we hit 10 reps of 100 pounds the first week. And now the second week, we use the same weight, we use the same sets, but instead we got 1 more rep on each one of our sets. That is also progressive overload. Third one being adding a set. For example, the week prior, you did 3 sets of bench press. And then the week after that, you did 4 sets of bench press. And then finally, improving execution. What this looks like. Let's say, for example, you're on the bench, have the bar, you come down, And the first time you did it on the first week, you kind of just like muscled it up. So your elbows kind of lifted up a little bit and you kind of did this little thing, and then your hips kind of shifted up and then you got it up. Now the second week, you didn't change anything. The weight was the same, the reps were the same, and the set was the same. But you were able to control the weight just a little bit more. No hips stayed in place, elbows stayed in place, and you pressed the weight on up without any sort of body language. Everything was nice and solid and you just pressed the weight on up. That, even though you didn't put weight, reps, or sets into the equation, you still progressively overloaded because you improved the way that you were executing the rep. And that is also progressive overload. And one more bonus one that I didn't even mention is if you are able to feel the muscle more the week after. This is a big one, especially if you're trying to put on muscle. If you do not feel the muscle working, you are likely not growing the muscle. Let me just say that again. If you do not feel the muscle working, it's probably not growing. Now that we have that set in stone, all of these things matter, but most importantly, your form needs to be on point. And if you don't feel the muscle working, you need to take a step back, dial the weight back, focus on your form, focus on your execution. Once you have those dialed in, just focus on squeezing the muscle, whatever it is, squeezing it, feeling it as you come down nice and slow. And then from there, you can begin to add weight, reps, and sets. And I guarantee you by that point, you're going to have much better workout because you're focusing on those little important things that are setting the stage for when you add weights, reps, and sets. There's three main things that most lifters are doing wrong, and it's costing them basically all of their gains, or at least years worth of just work, but with no results to stand behind it. First is not tracking what you're doing. If you are not tracking your lifts, your reps, your sets, it's very difficult for you to know if you are actually progressing. You're just going in aimless, you're going in blind. It's not productive for putting on muscle accurately. If you want to put muscle on and confidently know that you are putting muscle on week after week, you need to be tracking. And number two is no progression plan. If you're constantly just going into the gym and you're doing the same sets, the same reps, and the same weight, you're not making gains. You need to be pushing your body. This is where progressive overload comes in. As you go into the gym, if you're doing your set and you feel like you can get out another rep, get out that next rep. If you feel strong, if you feel like your muscle can handle more work, you have to gauge your workout and see that. And that's what your coach is going to do. Your coach is going to gauge that for you. Hey, how did this feel? Did you feel the muscle working? Yeah. Did you feel like you could have done more? Yes or no? If you did, next week, I want you to get more weight. Next week, let's up the reps. Next week, let's up the sets. That's what your coach is going to help you get through. But nonetheless, that is number two, no progressive plan. You're just kind of going into the gym every single week, just kind of doing it. Just doing the thing is not going to make gains. And then the third and most important one is just having random workouts or just going with the vibes. This is probably the worst thing that you can do. If you're an advanced lifter and you know how to do every single exercise perfectly, sure, you can do random workouts and you can do whatever. Why? Because it doesn't really matter what workouts you do. Your form is solid on every single one of them. But for most people, for you do not have every single exercise dialed in, and it's going to take you some time to actually get good at those exercises. Now, what you need to do is have an actual workout plan that has the same exercises that you do week after week, and you focus on making those better and better over time. Because the better that you make those exercises, the easier it will be for you to switch things on the fly. But when you're starting out, you need to have a set of exercises that you work on and get better at every single week. And from there, you will be able to see that it's much easier for you to do progressive overload, much easier for you to put on muscle, much easier for you to do all these things and actually get jacked and look like it, rather than you spending years in the gym and just having nothing to account for it. So moral of the story, have a bunch of exercises that you're working on, you're getting better at, and over time, as you get better at them, try different ones, try different exercise, see how that feels, send it to your coach, see what he thinks. Oh, coach, I just did this new exercise, what do you think? Oh, it looks pretty good. Change this, make that, see how it goes next week. And then you get better and better. And eventually, you're gonna be able to make those adjustments on the fly because you're a much better lifter. Just to go over and recap everything, progressive overload is just doing more work over time. Now, the stimulus threshold is just the minimum amount of stimulation that you have to do to the muscle in order for it to grow. And the 4 ways to progress is with sets, reps, weight, or execution. And above all, your form needs to be dialed in. If your form is not dialed in, then you're not going to be able to gauge if the reps, sets, and weight that you're adding is actually because you're getting bigger and stronger. And then what most lifters are doing wrong, they're not tracking their lifts, they have no progression plan, and they're just randomly working out and going with the vibes. Have a structured training plan that you're working on with certain exercises that you're getting better at week after week. Try to push and get stronger week after week by having better execution, better form, or just connecting to the muscle better. Making sure that you're pushing yourself hard enough to actually signal to your body that it needs to grow. And then doing this over time, over weeks, months, and ultimately years. Because that's truly how long this stuff takes. It takes years, but it takes months of progress and weeks of dedication in order for you to get there. Thank you guys for sticking all the way to the end. Comment down below what you found most helpful. Like the video, it really helps me out. And if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. If you're watching this on Instagram or TikTok, shoot me a follow. I'll be happy to make more of these videos. And if you'd like me to go over anything in particular, let me know. I'll be happy to do so. And yeah, we're gonna make more of these videos, so stay tuned. There's a lot more to come. One of many. Peace out, guys.